How's it going, YouTube? Cool, today with another video, and today, guys, what we're going to do is Labrynth. Now, Labrynth is a really cool deck that we have coming out of Tactical Masters. I think that it's really nice because alongside Valiance and Misty Rune, I think that the Labrynth deck is a dark horse. I think that the Misty Rune deck is going to be seeing a lot of play, and I honestly think that Valiance will have a lot of people try it, but I still think that it's the worst one out of the three. I think Labrynth has a lot of really cool application in the game right now, especially because it abuses one of the best types of cards that we have in the game currently, and that's normal traps. Now, the thing about normal trap cards is that they're always very slow to use. You essentially have to play turn 3 with them, and there's not a whole lot of decks right now that can really abuse them nor use them efficiently. We have Eldritch, and I feel like Labrynth is even really different than Eldritch. It just plays very different. And it really does have a nice feel to it. It makes you want to feel like you can play the trap cards and not just get blown out by Lightning Storm, right? So I wanted to mitigate that with deck building as well, and I've tried out multiple engines and multiple lines of theory, so I hope that you enjoy this video today because we're going to be covering all the Labrynth cards, what they do, how they fit into the game, and essentially how we see them doing in a format that we're going to be essentially creating, because it is hard to test a future format, right, because it's going to be a really different game. So I try to avoid cards like Anaconda because those cards could just be gone. Or Fusion Destiny, because I don't really know where that card is going to be lying here soon, right? So you're going to see the list be a little different than usual, and I hope you enjoy that too, because it's going to show some innovation rather than just playing the Labrynth cards in 30 traps, right? I don't want to build it like that. I don't think that that's very good. I think that's very susceptible to Lightning Storm and Duster. I don't want to play a deck that just is one shot by a back row removal, right? So we got a little creative with it. So I do hope that this theory line, though, is really cool for you and that we can actually see more videos like this in the future for other upcoming decks. I do want to shout out my mat again, though. On Friday, we're going to be seeing my mat drop. It's going to be code GGYGO10 if you want to support the channel. Very excited about this. It's going to be $40 for the single cloth and $60 for the double cloth. This is such a beautiful mat. I'm just so excited that it's my own, and I'm excited to be able to share this all with you and just to be able to see this at different events. I think that's going to be really cool. It's just a really nice way to support the channel here. But thank you all so much for being part of my community, and I hope that you enjoy this mat. Without further ado, let's hop right into the Labrynth cards. So it looks like we're just skipping over a couple here. So starting off, though, with our starters. So this is Ariane and this is Ariana. So these are pretty good, I would say, just for starters of a deck. This one's insane. I feel like this one's still pretty good, though, for what it does, right? So this one over here, the pink one, this will allow you to send a normal trap from your hand or your field to the grave and special summon any level 4 or lower fiend monster from your deck. That's pretty crazy, and we're going to be talking about a couple different ways that you can actually just abuse that and the different decks that you can really play with this that are really nice because it doesn't negate the monster that it summons either. So there's a lot of avenues that you can take. Now, they both share a similar effect as well, because the second effect of both of these is that if a normal trap removes your opponent's monster from the field, then you're able to go ahead, and I know at least with the Ariana, you can draw a card, and then you're able to either set a spell or trap from your hand to the field, or you can special summon a fiend from your hand or grave. So they have really nice float here. The other thing, though, is that the Ariane, the one on the right here, this, as soon as it's summoned, you're allowed to add a Labrynth spell or trap. And there's a lot of very good ones in this deck, so I'm very happy that they have another one that searches and they have one that summons, because it's not just we have Alistair the deck, right, where it's just one thing to summon, that's it. This deck actually has other ones that are viable to have on the board, so I think that's really cool too. Still kind of wish that the Ariana was a quick effect, right, because if you summon on your opponent's turn, or even an on summon, that'd be a lot better. But the fact that the Ariana is the one on the right is pretty cool, because if you use Welcome Home, then at least you get a search and whatnot too, so it's really nice for the card advantage at least. Moving off of that, though, we do have these two here, which this one is Welcome Home and this one is Labrynth. Yes, they named it the same thing twice. So the Welcome Home allows you to special summon out a Labrynth from your deck, and then except the turn that it was sent to the graveyard, if your normal trap removes a monster from the field, then you can go ahead and reset this, which I think is really nice. It's just a really good float. The other thing too is that with the Labrynth, if this card is on the field when you resolve your Welcome Home gains the effect of destroying a card in the field. So there you go. You have a nice way to trigger your Labrynth monster's effects, because this would be a normal trap, therefore removing a monster, which is also really cool. I really do like this field spell though. Really nice to have here. But just being able to pair it up with the Welcome Home is just super clean. Moving off of this, though, we have the big boss monster of the deck, the Silver Castle. This one is essentially second effect of multi-roll. While it's on the field, your opponent cannot respond with monster effects to your normal traps, which is pretty good, I would say. That's pretty insane. Also, if your normal trap goes off and removes a monster, then your Silver Castle can either destroy a monster your opponent controls or destroy a random card in your opponent's hand too. So it's a really nice way to also just get like hand loop. And it's also just really cool because, again, your opponent can't respond monster effects to your normal trap cards. So always very cool to see here, you know. Next up here, these cards are really cool. I like these a lot. I think Chandra on the right is really insane. The clock is really good too for what it is. So the clock on the left here, if you pitch it from your hand into the grave, you can actually resolve a normal trap the turn that it was set. So just one, but it's really relevant with Welcome Home because you can use this, activate Welcome Home, and summon out like Ariane, or you can summon out Silver Castle. Really depends on what you're trying to get to here. And then if another card is discarded to activate a Labrynth effect, then you're able to add back the clock, or you can special summon it. And then the Chandra over here has the same effect, where you can just add it back to your hand. It doesn't special. But so the Chandra on the right here, if you discard this card and another card, then you're able to search a Labrynth spell or trap, which is also very good too, because this is another way to get to Welcome Home or to your Labrynth. There's a couple other ones that we were going to go over that you can get to as well. This card can also send itself from the field to the grave, which is pretty neat too. So just a lot of really cool effects here that just gives you a lot of ways to float. And again, it's all fiends. So one thing I did want to mention too is off the Ariana, sorry. This one, the pink one, you can summon out things like cast bars. So like if you want to do like magical musketeers, like you could. It's very well possible. You can summon Decatron. You can summon Token Collector from the deck. Like, there's a lot of very cool application behind this card. Let's be real. And then you can just make like Baguska, right? And so like you go, this card summon Token Collector, make Baguska, especially against like Sword Soul. And like Baguska is just really rough for them in the first place. And then they clear Baguska, and then they have to deal with Token Collector too. Really nice, you know. So I like that a lot, because even if they have a shoot at you, you know, like they have to have a shoot at that, and then you go ahead and you summon Token Collector on them, and it's like, wow, that's pretty good. So I think that this deck has a lot of potential in this format, just a ton that it can summon. But let's actually go over some builds. But I do want to mention one thing before we go into our actual builds here, and that's you can set any normal trap off of this quick play. And yes, Deck Devi and Eradicator are both very real in this deck. Deck Devi, insane in this coming format, I believe. In this current format, it would have been nuts. So you can trigger one Dark Monster with 2,000 or more attack. Look at your opponent's hand, all monsters they control, all cards they draw until the end of the third turn after the card resolves. Destroy all monsters with 1,500 or less attack in their hand. Think about every deck right now and how many monsters have 1,500 or less attack. This card, nuts. But think about the format that this deck's going to drop in, right? Eradicator. If you Eradicator call spell against Misty Ruin, it's over. It's over, bro. If you Eradicator like a Plunder player, like there's so many different decks that just outright lose to Eradicator, which is pretty crazy. And every format that we see this card be in, it's always very scary, especially even cards like Deck Devi. There's a lot of very cool opportunity here to be able to abuse these. And they're also normal traps. This card, you can target 2 Labrynth Spoiler traps in your graveyard. Put them back into your deck. It also counts from Banished too, so Banished or Grave. Put them back into your deck, and then set 2 normal trap cards from your deck. It doesn't matter what they are, as long as they're not Labrynth. So you can just set Deck Devi or Eradicator and like a Compulse or a Lost Wind with it. Like, it's insane. Like, the fact that you're just like allowed to do that, right? Pretty cool. So you can get to these pretty quick. There's another line of thought that I had that would have been pretty cool to try to get to these, but I have the most optimal current build so far, and I have a lot of other tester builds that I've tried out, and we're going to talk about the good sides and the bad sides to them. So the first one I have here is Plunder. Plunders are all fiends, and this is a build that you actually get to utilize your extra deck really well, because you're not playing cards like Punishment. By the way, I really hate Punishment. I think it's just a very bad card. Not being able to use your extra deck, and it doesn't really net you that much more. If I was going to use Punishment, I might as well just use like Archfiend Glitch, because like you get one pop with that card of a card in the field, and then you also get the Foolish a monster. So like you can Foolish like Backjack. So I just feel like that card's just so much better because it doesn't completely lock you out of your extra deck. The Welcome Home does have a stipulation that until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you're locked into Fiends. But like you can still make cards out of your extra deck even if you're locked into Fiends. It doesn't lock you from your hand or your graveyard, so you can still play like other cards, which is pretty cool. But it locks you out of your deck and extra deck for just Fiends. But I like this a lot, though, because you have a lot of really nice consistency cards here. The Chandra, go ahead, discard like your Bluebeard or your Golden Hair. And then you can go ahead and search your Welcome. Then you can use like the Raven, add back your Golden. You can go Chandra, discard your Whitebeard, go combo, end with like Welcome and the Blackbeard. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do here that I feel like is really nice. Especially because you're even playing like the Wind Blast here and just all the discards that you have, and then you also have like the Raven and the Whitebeard to just recur. I think that it's really solid. There's a couple things that I noticed here as being a really big problem. Yes, it gives you a lot of your extra deck, and yes, it gives you a decent end board. But so if you know anything about Plunder, is that you need to play a heavy Plunder count, or else you don't really get the benefits of Plunder, because all the extra deck monsters have to discard Plunder cards, right? So that's where that's kind of a problem, and you can't really play the field spell either because you're trying to use the Labrynth field spell, and then like you don't want too many discards. Like there's a lot of things you got to think about here. So yes, it's really nice, but if you're playing so many Plunder cards to see Plunder Engine, you're not seeing any normal trap cards, and then Booty is a continuous, so it doesn't even count. And so that's one thing that we've noticed, is that this is a really clean build and it's nice to use, but you don't get your Labrynth effects off if you're not using normal trap cards, and especially the normal trap cards that like remove monsters, right? So that's where like the number one issue is with a build like this, where I was kind of like, well, this is kind of tough, you know, like there's other things that I want to be able to do with the deck, but we're not actually able to use our Labrynth cards, so we need to find a different thing to theory. So that's where we found our next list. Couple things though, you can set off that quick play as well. The dimension barriers, you can play Magic Deflector. There's a lot of very nice cards that you can play with this kind of an archetype. That's why I'm saying like the normal trap cards are just so crazy. So being able to actually get to them is nuts. So this is also Archfiend right here. Archfiend allows you to special summon itself when you activate a trap card, so like a multi-faker. And when it's summoned, you can set a battle trap from your deck. I don't like this because you're not supposed to telegraph a battle trap to your opponent because it's supposed to be a surprise. And so that feels really lackluster. But it is really cool though, because like when you summon this and you get that battle trap, if you have an Ariana, or Ariana, I think is the pink one. I keep getting their names mixed up. But so you can use that effect to send the battle trap that you get to go ahead and trigger the effect. So you're not really getting the battle trap just to like be a battle trap. You're just using it as a fodder for extension. So like that's kind of cool. I like that a lot too. We're also playing Lost Wind because if you pitch it off of like Chandra or any of your other effects that you need, you're not really going down an advantage because this is a card that just goes ahead and resets itself. It's kind of like Titan Sighter in a way. Titan Sighter doesn't banish itself, but it only targets extra deck monsters, where Lost Wind targets special summon monsters. So I just think Lost Wind's just better. But it is a very nice card to see here, and it does gain a lot of resource value for you. So I think this is a really optimal first theory. The next theory that we went to, though, was can we extend? What else can we do? Big shout outs to Zach Sitek for sitting in a call with me for like an hour, just trying to figure out what more we could do with the deck. So off suggestions, we put in a danger package. So we put in Nessie's, Mothman, Snake, the Jackalope. One of my theories here was that we could play Curious Griffin because it's really easy to summon Curious in this deck now, especially with things like the Danger package, and you can just send Eradicator or like your Welcome Home and reset it. So I think that's really cool too, to have that as a theory, because you're just playing like the normal Labrynth deck with a bunch of trap cards, but you're just playing the dangers, as Zach says, as upstart goblins, which is true, and it's really nice, and it free extenders. And at that point, you're playing a little bit more than just a trap deck, right? Like you're playing a way to actually try to combo, try to get to some other means of a win con. That's why I really do like the dangers, and this is something that I will be revisiting. I just think that this was a really nice one to show off. We had Karma cut in here for a little while. I think that card's really cool too. It has a lot of application. We added in Archfiend Glitch, but we didn't really feel like this was going to be like the build. I was thinking, like, if I get Lightning Stormed, I'm going to feel pretty bad about it. Or, like, if my opponent has, like, a response from Ariane when I'm trying to summon from the deck, I'm also not going to feel very good about it. Like, is there a way that we can really mitigate this? Then the other line I thought in my head was, like, we can't really play Anaconda or Fusion Destiny because those cards might not be here by the time we get these cards. What else can we play? And I started thinking about Despia format. We went with Branded Fusion because Dragoon's not going to get banned at this point. We're able to play Branded Fusion. Dragoon solves the problem of getting Lightning Stormed or like the negate on the Ariane. So I think this is really nice. I think this is a really good way to approach the deck. I think that it's cool that when you use Branded Fusion, if you summon Lubellion, then you can send out your Backjack. I think that it's really cool that you can go into your Dragoon because you use a Branded Fusion, right? And then you summon Albion. And then Albion banishes the Light Hexiel and the Fallen out of your graveyard and summons the Dragoon. So on your board, you have Albion and Dragoon. Albion is a 2500 Dark monster, by the way. So Eradicator, go burr. I think that's pretty insane as just a free Eradicator hit. And then you're just like not going down in card advantage at all, just to like be able to resolve that. So I think that's really cool too, and it just gives you the protection that you really do need in the deck. We added in Prosperity, we have the Call By, and this is by far the best list that I've come out with yet. Because we have, and even in the sideboard, like the Dark Rulers, the Super Polys, like I think this build is just very smart. I think it's very safe, I think it's very smart. And then you're not playing like a super heavy trap count, but like you're still on traps. You're playing the Imperms because there's still normal traps as well. You have a lot of very good opportunity to do well with a list like this. Again, we're only playing the one Albaz. You could play the second just for like more recursion later on, but I didn't really feel like it was that needed because you're already getting the card advantage so fast in a deck like this that I don't really think that you would need that. If you have to grind with your opponent long enough to need the second Albaz, you're probably already losing anyways. But I really do like this build. But there was another line of thought. What if we played Souls? And now the reason for Souls, right, is because there's this spell here. It's the quick play spell that says target 2 of your cards in the graveyard and then set 2 normal traps. What if, right, you're playing Souls, and then you get to like your Labrynth and like your Welcome Home, and then you can Souls them away, and then you can use Ariana and then search your quick play, or you can just like try to draw into it. And then once you sent those other 2 cards away, you can quick play them back to your deck and then set Eradicator. So I think that's really cool with like Souls, but I just didn't really see the application working too well. So that's why I went back to this build. I think this so far is my favorite build, and it's something that I will be keeping on with, like moving forward at least. And we're going to keep testing the deck out. But like just to keep up in the format, especially with Despia being like really insane next format, I think this deck just becomes very nice for the, what we have. And since this will be like after the next ban list, and it'll be like, I think this drops in like the middle of the 3 months that we typically get a ban list. So this will be like in contention with those cards, right? So I think that a build like this really does play around that, and it gives you a lot of options in gameplay. So I do look forward to this deck, and I think that it's going to be really nice looking forward. Again, if you want to join my community, definitely go in my Discord and just kind of communicate with everyone and see if you can find any games to play and really get a better grasp on the game. That's one thing that I really do love about my Discord, though, is everyone's always ready to play. You know, like they always have every channel just going all the time, and they're just really wanting to meet new people and just keep growing the community. So you'll definitely be welcome there, and I'm so glad that I have a community like that, because it's just the #1 way that you can improve and really find your own testing circle, right? Also, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Twitch, so definitely go over there and follow those. If you want a one-on-one coaching session with me, definitely go to my Medify, check it out. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Discord. I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you all so much.